Well, breaking tonight, we are just moments away from a major moment for the Artemis 2 mission. This is the first crewed mission planned to go around the moon in more than 50 years. In about 15 minutes or so, you can see the countdown clock right there. NASA is scheduled to carry out the final part of a critical wet dress rehearsal, as they describe it. That's going to be fueling up the SLS rocket that you see there with liquid hydrogen and oxygen. This test is going to simulate pretty much everything that will happen when they actually do launch day, but we won't see the engines fire up. NASA engineers, they're going to be watching things like tank pressures, countdown sequences, and system sensors throughout tonight's rehearsal, which will be a major factor in deciding when Artemis 2 can officially launch, potentially as early as this weekend. It all depends on what happens tonight. A lot of ifs here. So let's bring in former astronaut Leroy Chiao as we watch these live pictures from the Kennedy Space Center. Leroy, thank you so much for joining us as we count down a little bit closer to this test here. Can you walk us through exactly what's happening right now? Again, we have to kind of like temper expectations. You're not going to see like massive flame, it sounds like. But is there anything that NASA's doing that, is kind of notable to you as they go about this test?
Sure, this was a very important test, is a very important test. It's basically everything except launching the crew into space. And so we're exercising the ground team, we're putting all the hardware through its paces, all the procedures, and making sure that there are no problems before we actually put a crew on board. So this was a full wet dress rehearsal. We had a little glitch earlier with a hydrogen leak. That was fixed, and all the propellant was loaded, and it's been sitting there being replenished. Everything seems to be going very smoothly. And so by all, outside, observations, it seems like it's been a very smooth test, except for that one little leak glitch. But this could pave the way for an actual launch on the 8th. So very exciting stuff.
So again, it sounds like it's kind of like to plan right here. But you mentioned the hydrogen leak, and we're also hearing other concerns, like one former astronaut and engineer who told our Tom Costello that this could be too dangerous for some specific engineering reason. Take a listen to what he said.
I don't think NASA should be flying a crew on this vehicle. It's a deviant heat shield. We know it's a deviant heat shield. We do not know how it's going to fail or how we can predict it's going to fail.
And again, I guess it's part of the process to try to iron out all of the kinks before you ultimately do the launch. But do you share some of those heat shield concerns? Should NASA feel comfortable after this test? What do you think about those concerns?
Sure. Well, after Artemis 1, 2.5 or so years ago, NASA was surprised because the heat shield sustained a lot more damage than they expected. And so they spent those 2.5 years analyzing it, trying to figure out a fix, a solution, and what they decided to do was change the entry trajectory so that the heating profile would not be as severe as it was on Artemis 1. Through many simulations and many analyses, they've got their arms around the problem. They presented this to independent review boards, and everybody pretty much is on board saying, you know what, we think that you've done what you need to do, you've solved the problem, and we think it's okay to fly as is. Now, you're never going to be 100%, okay? I mean, that's just the nature of the business, and it's not just space flight, it's, a lot of things. But, there is some risk in this, but from all the technical analyses that I've heard of, it sounds like we've got good confidence that we are in a good position to go ahead and launch. Now, I've known Charlie for a number of years, and he's a skeptic, and that's good. We need skeptics, right? We need people to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. But at the same time, I've talked to other people who are knowledgeable about this, and I'm confident that NASA has done a great job of getting their arms around it, and I think we're ready to go fly.
All right, well, Leroy Chiao, as we look towards that clock, 11 minutes, we'll see how that goes, and we'll obviously have you back on if they do, and once they do ultimately go about on the mission. Leroy Chiao, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.